Samani. Bila samani. Sikujua kama mnapiga picha.
Mama, tunahitaji mtu kwenye kamera. Labda siku moja utakuja kuipamba picha.
Kama una sasa na masharubu usijali.
Wewe, sasa baadhi ya masharubu unasikia?
Hapo ndogo ni mtu wangu. Inakuaje?
Kwetu Suane. Mimi nimechoka na maisha mara hivi, mara kule mpaka lini?
Wewe msichana, hebu jitende vizuri mtandio wako baradhuli mkubwa wewe.
Itakuwa ni heshima kubwa sana kama utaamua kuolewa na mimi.
My grudges, you're free to go.
But how so, huh? Why has he been set free?
Because I have more money and more influence than you'd ever have, all right? Thinking about getting out of life? Forget it.
Are you threatening me?
Take it as you want, Skinny. Thank you, my boy.
Kuingia tushaingia washa kukaribia. So ni jibu.
Sipasi utulie tungoje mwalimu.
Kwani when we come to the class, do we leave our love at the door?
Ha? Waraacha ibadana. War ile kitu yeye na kushaniba wallahi abana kitu ya kawaida.
Teacher. Sakao said Imandisi baby Elisa are one. So, what do you think should write?
Hey, DJ Gebe, you're very funny.
Really?
Classmates.
As I have stated to you, polygamy should be embraced in the African culture. In the African culture, as our forefathers tried before, it worked for them. Why shouldn't it work for us?
I want to urge all of you to join this greener side of life, to strongly and firmly oppose polygamous marriage in African society. This is because, one, you know very well, it is not very possible for a man to exercise love
Well, thank you so much for keeping it Good Morning Kenya. It is that time for the first interview. I told you earlier we'll be talking about something very interesting, emotional intelligence. It's a term that I'm sure you've come across, and even if you've not heard about it, emotions are things that we go through as human beings on a daily basis. So today we want to understand more about emotional intelligence, how to manage our emotions and how to help others in managing their own emotions. And a lot is going to come into this conversation you don't want to miss. Remember, you can be a part of it. Find me on my Facebook page, that is at Safina Ching, or on our mother Facebook page, that's at KBC Channel 1. Remember to drop your questions, your comments, or anything that you have for us, and we'll sample those before the end of this interview. Joining me to talk about this is Fred Abok. a motivational speaker, a pastor, a life coach, somebody who has majored in working with the youth, and he is here to talk to us and to help us put this issue into perspective. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure it's going to be a very fruitful conversation. How are you feeling?
I'm doing well. Yes. It's good to be here and to discuss one of the most dynamic issues in life, the emotional intelligence. And of course, I know that people are wondering what really is emotional intelligence. Emotion is just emotion that you know, but the intelligence about it is just the act of understanding your emotions and how it affects other people, but also being cognizant on how it can actually be able to affect the atmosphere around you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So emotional intelligence. Before we get to even talking about it, you said you're a life coach.
Yes.
Probably just tell us a bit about your experience as a life coach. How are you finding it?
Great. Of course, for, me helping people to actually realize their full potential in life and be able to bring out their best in whatever they do is one thing that actually motivates me and help me to go beyond what I can actually just be able to do for a pay, but just to make sure that somebody is actually in a position that they can be able to achieve their possible best. Okay. So life coaching is indeed very dynamic in its nature, because you bring somebody from a state of, you know, I don't want to say confusion, but a state of in discovery to a proper discovery of who they are in life.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, life coaching.
Yeah.
More like trying to bring the best out of people.
Bring the best out of people.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now let's get to the gist of the matter. Emotional intelligence.
Yes.
What's your best understanding of this concept?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, emotional intelligence is just about understanding who you are. And apart from who you are, is how your emotions affect people around you. Like, for example, what you're going through, or what is actually going through around you, how can it actually affect other people who are nearby you or within a society or an organization where you're working, and be able to bring positive atmosphere within the surrounding. Yes.
So you also look at yourself, the emotions within yourself?
Yes, you first need to understand yourself first, and then be able to communicate it out to people. Yes.
What's the best level of emotional intelligence for somebody you think it would be good for them?
All right. The level of intelligence actually measure up is how can you be able to bring a conducive atmosphere within a surrounding that people can easily perform well without victimization, but also being in a position that people can freely express themselves. On that level, your intelligence is in a position to actually change that atmosphere. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we talked about emotional intelligence, and something that's also very common is IQ.
Yes.
Probably, how do these two concepts relate, or how different are they?
Great. IQ is actually simply the intelligent quotient. But of course, when there's emotional intelligence right above intelligent quotient, in that people with intelligent quotients actually are people who understand the ability within themselves, but it's very rare that they're not concerned about the environment around them. All right. Sorry to give this example. Recently, what happened on the parliament the other day, the people were actually emotional, intelligent quotient, in that they understand their frustration and what they were going through, but they were not cognizant of the surrounding that they were in. So emotional intelligence gives you the ability to understand the surrounding that you are in, and being sensitive to the surrounding, vis-a-vis not actually allowing your intelligent quotient to override the environment that you are in. So this will help you to control yourself within what you want to express, but also express it in a manner that actually does not interfere or prejudice the surrounding around you.
Okay, so what you're saying, what I'm gathering from this is that somebody can have high IQ, but very low emotional intelligence.
Very true.
Wow, how does that work? But anyway, aside from that, you talked of understanding one's environment, so that when you're dealing with people, you understand who they are, and you make sure that what you're doing does not affect your environment. So how do you understand that environment?
Very true. there are several ways that you can actually be able to understand the environment. Number one is actually to get into the environment. Getting into the environment is actually getting into have systems or ways that you can be able to communicate. Like in a family, you know, greeting people, you know, just saying hi on the first encounter will actually enable you to measure up the environment that you are in, but also be able to get the right response. Through that, you can actually be able to measure how the environment is, but also being proactive rather than being reactive. When you're proactive, you actually initiate a conversation rather than react or respond to the conversation.
Sure.
So this can be able to help.
Okay.
Yes.
So understanding the environment, getting to it.
Yes.
Okay. Here's a situation.
Yes.
Somebody is new, maybe in an environment like your first day at work, for example.
Sure.
Yeah. You don't know people. You don't know anything. Okay. So how do you go about your day to make sure that whatever you do, emotional intelligence wise, let me use that,
yes,
you're on point?
Great. You know, people who highly flies on emotional intelligence are people who are freely and relaxed, you know, avoid tension. And through this, you discover that for you to be able to penetrate through a new environment, there is need to allow yourself to freely interact, but also be on a positive atmosphere or positive side to venture in within the surrounding. This will help you to gather more information, but also to access people within their confine of work. You discover that people who have emotional intelligence goes beyond just the performance of the duty, but also by expressing and building a teamwork, building a synergy in a way that others can actually be able to enjoy being around them, but also offer help easily without looking forward to what they will get as a result of it. So emotional intelligence will help you to gather information, or issues like asking people their name, you know, just explaining yourself, who you are, expressing yourself, and also, you know, offer help where you feel the need is. That will help you to adapt into the environment, but also bring people around you who can be able to, you know, get to know you better. Yes.
When you talk of it, emotional intelligence and the environment, you've touched a lot on how it can help you in the environment that you are in. I'm curious to know, how does it help you as an individual, the internal self? How does being emotionally intelligent assist you as a person?
Great. Now, you know, emotional intelligence, number one, is something that can be learned. It's not that you're born with it. But number one, it comes as a result of self-discovery. When you discover yourself, you discover your potential, you discover your gifting, you discover your abilities within the context of what you're doing. You can actually be able to develop it on a day-to-day life. But also experiences do help us on to be able to develop our emotional intelligence. But also the other thing is that even the mistakes that we find ourselves involved and accepting of corrections do help us to develop our intelligence, in that as we continue to interact and as we continue to adventure in different areas of our lives, you discover that you make mistakes and you accept corrections, you build up on your emotional intelligence. You give out yourself into new spheres of life, also do help you to develop your intelligence. So through this and acquiring more and interacting more will help you much. You will discover, Sven, that we are not at our best on the first initiative or the undertaking. But the more we do undertake different projects, we learn on every other single day. You know, in driving, you learn to overtake. You learn to stay into your line. There are things you do learn on job rather than what you're taught in school. And so emotional intelligence is actually developed as you get yourself engaged in different spheres of things you do. Yes.
So it's not something you're born with, you can build it and through experience.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was listening to you, and I was something came to my mind.
Yeah.
Like, Is there a way you can measure on a self-assessment level, when somebody is trying to assess themselves? Is there a way they can measure their level of emotional intelligence to know whether they're somewhere?
Very true. You can measure your emotional intelligence through temperaments.